Hi, Dr. Joe here to talk a little bit about vitamin D and the laboratory. Everyone really should know their vitamin D levels for lots of reasons which we've discussed over and over. It's important to know that you're in a normal range at some point. There's been a huge problem recently, though, that when Quest Laboratory announced they'd screwed up on some of the things they had done, and for whatever reason, some of the physicians might have used different treatment courses because the lab was bad and didn't know that, though. They might not have done certain things. The New York Times covered it last week pretty well, and I've got a link in the printed material that will come out to you, so you could read what the New York Times talked about and the physician that they quote. Quest comments are also found on the Quest site, and that too is on the link as well. So that is something that you can check out what they all have said about this. But I have another e-news that I sent out yesterday, no, quite some time ago, but it talked about grassroots health, and it has to do with how you can get your own vitamin D checked without going to a laboratory at a reasonable price. It also is something where you can be involved in a big system. You have to give some healthcare information. You'll be followed along. Presumably you'll get information steadily funneled to you that says what we learned, and will you update all that you have done to find out how your health has been and see what happens. This is part of a new system, I think, that it'll ultimately come out to show that this is of great value to the world, to yourself, to know how you compare to everybody else, and to know how you may have missed certain diseases or maybe even acquired some. I don't know how that would happen from the vitamin D levels. But it'll give us huge populations and give us a lot of information. So this last link is really a good thing. It's all in the printed material that accompanies this broadcast too. Your vitamin D levels, the body handles pretty good. It doesn't get too excited about big levels. We know from some people who said that they weren't sure, that they felt that they wanted to take like 50,000 units a day, since I've done since 1964, and they wanted to have their levels checked. We walked through the situation, and they had it at various times, but it appeared to be that at 200 days you had reached about the height that the body was going to hang on to, and it descended from that time, which is very interesting. It saturates the sites in your body, and then when you can't get any more, it won't let any more in, and you're pretty safe. Because in the future it appears that larger and larger amounts of D are going to be recommended. So the lack of toxicity is really good. Toxicity still seems only to appear in people who are taking calcium supplements of any kind with the D. You don't need any extra calcium because you absorb huge amounts, every little bit you have in your body when you go on larger amounts of vitamin D. So don't take any supplements. Take just whatever appropriate amounts of vitamin D would be for you. I wasn't involved with it, but I read a written account of an industrial accident where somebody was inadvertently given 1.4 million units of vitamin D3. I usually use D3 in all that I say because D2 is not something I like. It doesn't have the sustained value that the D3 does for lots of reasons, which we won't go over this time. But at any rate, at about 5 months, the gentleman who was given 1.4 million units of vitamin D was found. He felt great, no problems, no toxicity he knew about. So the blood tests were done, and they showed that actually he was less than when he started. So there seems to be some good mechanisms that say there's safety in a lot of the things we do. We talked about the thyroid before, and this is true for the vitamin D as well. We aren't looking to make you toxic, but if something happens, it isn't something to fear, so it should be okay for you.